In today's video, we're going to talk about 8 important things that you should know before traveling to Kurdistan. So, let's get into the video. Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm your Kurdish teacher Dia, and if you're interested in learning Kurdish Sorani, you can subscribe to my channel. First important thing that you should know is bring cash with you. A lot of places do not use card, maybe very few places or rarely you would find places that would accept card, but usually a lot of the places here, they only work with cash, and it's very important to have cash with you. Now you might think, what if I just have my card and then withdraw some money from ATMs? And that brings us to our second point, which is do not ever withdraw money from ATMs. Why? Because from the ATMs, the exchange rate is very low compared to if you go to any other places to exchange US dollars into Iraqi dinars. When you just exchange it from any exchanging stores here, it's gonna be a lot more money than just doing it from ATMs. Most ATMs here, not all of them, but a lot of them can have a really high fee charge. So they're gonna charge you a lot for withdrawing money. So I highly recommend if you go to an exchanging store. We have it a lot. We have it in the bazaar. We have it in a lot of other places you could find. Even if you check the Google Maps and search for it, you can be able to find it. So I highly recommend bring cash with you, and as well, do not ever withdraw from ATMs. Just exchange it while you're here. It's gonna be a lot better. So right now, the exchange rate is around, let's say 100 USD. It's gonna be 150,000 Iraqi dinars or 149, something like that. It used to be a lot higher, but lately it's kind of getting down, and each day, or let's say each hour, it keeps changing. So I can't say a specific rate right now, but let's say in that day when you're going to Kurdistan trying to exchange the US dollar to Iraqi dinars, maybe it is around 150,000 for each 100 USD. But from ATMs, it's gonna give you 130,000. So that's why it's better to have cash with you. Especially, I would recommend USD. Now to our third point, as well, do not bring too much cash with you because that might get you in trouble in the airport. I'm not exactly sure how much cash you can bring. Another thing is about eSIMs, internet connection. Of course, if you're traveling here, you would need to have constant internet connection, because that's what I also always do when I'm abroad. Just in case, it's always better to have internet connection all the time. I've noticed from my students or some of the foreign friends that I have, when they come here, I ask them what they use, or I ask them for their internet so that I can connect my phone to their connection sometimes when we were out. So I was asking them what they use, and then they told me that they're using the internet from their SIM card, which again, it's not a bad thing, but it can be twice more expensive, or it can be a lot more expensive compared to other options that are a lot better as well. That we could have. For example, if you're coming to Slemani, you might buy an Asia cell, which we call it Asya cell, in Kurdistan or in Kurdish. If you want to get one of these, maybe you want to just buy an internet from that SIM card company, right? Which again, as I told you, it's not a bad thing, but there's another option. So what I really highly recommend is going to a branch for Fastlink or Fastpay, doesn't matter because both are same company. There, ask them for an eSIM, and it's so much cheaper and a lot better. You could get an eSIM for around 15,000 Iraqi dinars, or you could also get it for 20,000 based on your plan and what you want. They also have the option for the internet to work all around Kurdistan, so wherever you go, anywhere, it works perfectly. Meanwhile, some other internet connections might not really work well outside of the city or might not work at all. But make sure if you're buying a fast link to tell them, well, I want to buy the plan that works for outside of the city, like outside of Slemani. If you're buying it in Slemani, if you're buying it in another city, same case. I'm not pretty sure because I haven't bought internet connection from my SIM card company, which is HSL, for a long time. So I'm not pretty sure how much it is, but last time I checked, it was twice more from what you can get from Fastlink. So that's why I prefer and I recommend to get an eSIM from Fastlink, which is a lot better. And that's not a sponsor at all. It's just my recommendation. And I like it better personally, and I think it is really good. Our fifth important thing to know is about language this time. So let's say before traveling to Kurdistan, you want to learn Kurdish, right? Because it's good, then you can talk to some locals, maybe make some friends. Making friends in Kurdistan can be pretty easy because people are very friendly. The hospitality here is really, really great. So even not just for a foreigner, even for me, myself, I can easily, when I go out or when I'm somewhere else, I can easily talk to people, start a conversation and make friends. So it's gonna be easy. People love to talk, people are friendly here, but our point is not about this for now. It's about the language. So if you are deciding to learn Kurdish, it's very, very, very important to know that you're learning the right dialect. Because what you might learn, maybe in the area that you go or the city that you go, they might not understand you pretty well. For example, let's say you're planning to come to Iraq part or Iran part, let's say, because Kurdistan, Kurdish people can be in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran, right? So firstly, you have to know your destination, where you're going, and based on where you're going, know what dialect they speak and what dialect you should learn. Because personally, not a lot of times, let's say, but quite a few times, some students booked lessons not knowing that what I am teaching, the dialect I am teaching, is not the right one for them. So that's very important to know. For example, I'm gonna explain. If you're traveling to Iraq or Iran part of Kurdistan or where Kurdish people live, because you know Kurdistan is not an independent country, so you either go to Iraq or Iran, let's say, but the Kurdish area. It's good to learn Sorani Kurdish. If you go to the Turkish or Turkey or Syria part, it's good to learn Kurmanji Kurdish. But I am specifically gonna talk about Iraqi part, Kurdistan region and Iraqi part, let's say. Because I am from here, so I have more knowledge too. There are other parts, other cities that speak differently. So for example, if you're coming to Slemani or even Erbil, which we call it Hawler, it's fine to learn the way I speak because I am from Sulaymaniyah myself. So any other areas around there, it's fine, can learn the way that I speak. But if you're planning to go to the areas around Barzan, Duhok, Zaho, Acre, these areas, they speak Badini, which is different compared to how we speak. So that if you're planning to go there, that's gonna be a bit of a problem, or actually a big problem, because especially as a foreigner, if you just learn a bit of Sorani, and then you go to these areas, people are gonna have a hard time, or you're gonna have a really hard time understanding what they're saying. But keep in mind though, in so many of the other areas, like each areas, for example, let's say Hauraman, if you're going there for maybe a short trip or anything like that, you'll notice again that they also speak differently, like very, very differently. So my advice is just learn one, or maybe that one specific area that you know you're staying longer, or one of the dialects or something like that that you know is more important to you, and stick with this one. But as well, keep in mind, everywhere you go, do not expect all of them to speak one specific dialect, because everywhere is also, they also speak differently. So if you're coming to Slemani or other areas around Slemani, or even say Howler, fine, because even though Howler, they also speak differently, but they kind of also still speak like us. Like there isn't like a big problem for that. You could still understand, we can still understand each other. So it's not like a huge problem at all. But if you're mainly going to Erbil, you can learn the way they speak. If you're mainly coming to Sulaymaniyah, you can learn the way we speak. But either way, still, it wouldn't be a big problem. But if you're deciding to go to other parts, as I mentioned, like Duhok, Zaho, Barzan, anywhere like that, it's better to learn the way they speak. So one thing else I really want to mention is that when you're traveling through cities to cities, you might have a hard time finding a taxi or finding what transportation or how can you travel from a city to another city. I highly recommend do not just take any random taxis to take you to another city. I do not recommend that because this is gonna be a lot more expensive from what I know. So what is the best thing to do is there is a garage specifically for transportation between cities. I know both from Erbil and Slemani because I travel between these two cities a lot for work or for any other things, usually often. So I am gonna put the location on the video later on when I edit, or I might also put it in the description so that you know the location. For Slemani, it's very close, it's not that far away from the airport. And the garage, they have both minibuses and taxis. For minibuses, they charge like 10,000 Iraqi dinars if you go from Slemani to Howler, which we said Howler is Erbil, the capital city. But there is a rule, if you sit in front, it's gonna be 15,000 Iraqi dinars. Same for taxis. If you're sitting in the back, but expect to have other people with you inside the taxi. But personally, as a girl alone, I would say it's completely safe. There's no problem. I'm not pretty sure how it's gonna be for foreigners, but at least even if you speak a little bit Kurdish, it's gonna help a lot, especially when you're, you know, traveling by taxi or bus to another city. Just to explain to the taxi driver, talking to them, or maybe around the checkpoints, because I noticed that like a lot of the people that are in the checkpoints, they don't really speak good English, so expect to be asked questions and expect to have a lot of checkpoints, and you have to show your passport. Sometimes they might not ask, but usually they would ask when they see a foreigner. As well, one more thing, if you only have Kurdistan visa, do not enter Iraqi part, because it's gonna be a problem for you on the checkpoint. If you're a foreigner and you only applied for Kurdistan visa, you're not allowed to go to the Iraqi part. If you want to go to the Iraqi part and you don't have the visa for it, they're gonna send you back, or you're gonna get into trouble in the checkpoint when you're going to go to an Iraqi city. So make sure the city you're going is not an Iraqi city. And I do not recommend you to go through Kirkuk Road when you're traveling from Slemani to Erbil. So make sure to tell the driver if you don't have Iraqi visa. From what I know, because Kirkuk is no longer a part of Kurdistan, so do not drive through there. So just make sure when you're going from Slemani to Erbil, tell them to not drive through Kirkuk. Just so that in case of any trouble, any problems coming your way, it's better not to go through there. As I said, expect to have other people inside the taxi, and each people that are sitting behind, they pay 15,000 for Slemani to Erbil. Same otherwise. If you're sitting in the front, you have to pay 20,000. So that's the cheaper options, by the way. But if you really want to have a private taxi only for yourself with no other people around, you can have that. It's just gonna be a lot more expensive than paying only 15,000 or 20,000. And as I said, I do that all the time. I don't know the people that are inside the taxi with me. I tried with buses, with taxis, and it has always been very safe. But as I said, I am not sure for a foreigner. I would expect it's fine as long as you can somehow be able to speak Kurdish, because I have met a lot of foreigners as well when I was traveling between cities. But as I said, I think it's important to know some Kurdish. But again, it's not a sponsor, but I just like to add best taxi apps to use. As you know, transportation here is pretty bad, and you'll notice that our buses look very old, and it's not very fun to be inside a bus, even though it's pretty cheap. But if you want to pay extra more just to have a taxi, as a girl alone, I usually get into trouble. I don't know if it's just my experience, but whenever I just take a random taxi, I would always get into random weird trouble. So I no longer want at all to take just any random taxi I see on the road. What I do is I use an app every time I'm in Erbil, because in Sulaymaniyah I have my own not my own car, but it's my mom's car, and I use that. So I always drive when I'm in Slemani. I don't have a problem for that. But when I am in Erbil, because it's not my own car, so my mom might need a car, so it's always better to not take it. So when I'm in Erbil, I mentioned it from one of my vlogs before, I would use Kareem app. I also mentioned in my vlog that the first ever time I used it alone, I got into a trouble with a taxi driver, which was not fun at all. He started shouting at me for no reason, or for just a weird reason. I don't want to get into details now because I explained it before, but trust me, that was just one time, I would say. Yeah, that only ever happened to me one time. After that, I used Kareem all the time, and every time now when I go there, I use it. But expect that you might still come across as some not professional or very rude drivers, because that happened to me and that was not fun. And maybe that's gonna happen, but see, with the app, taxis cannot scam you, because even as a Kurdish person, when I'm in Erbil, I could get scammed and they would ask for more money, a lot more money, which sometimes it's crazy. One time there was this one taxi driver that was asking me for 12,000 Iraqi dinars, which I only pay 15,000 from Slemani to Erbil, right? So it's crazy. And I get it if it's, for example, in Erbil from like my destination, it's a lot and very long, but it was not even that long, so it was very unreasonable. So to not get into things like this, that's why I recommend using the app, because the app can be very cheap, and the more you use it, the more they also give you coupon codes. There's a lot of discounts. It's so much more cheaper compared to just taking a random taxi that there's a high chance to get scammed. So to not get into anything like that, it is better to use the app. And nobody can cheat money or scam you when you're using the app, because you can see how much they have to charge you on the app, and anything more they're asking for that doesn't show in the app, you should not pay more. When you're in Kurdistan, depending on where you go and the area you're going, expect to be looked at. Especially, there are some areas that are more traditional, and somehow people tend to look a lot more at you. Just expect that people would look at you. Usually it might just be because they're curious when they see a foreigner. So that might happen, which I know it can be very uncomfortable for some people and they might not like. I'm just used to it and I don't really mind anymore at all. And I don't care when people look at me. I don't really usually go to those type of areas, especially when you're inside a car. You wouldn't be looked at because usually you're driving and you just go to your destination, right? But if you're walking a lot, you might come across things like that a lot. So lastly, it's gonna be about dress code. Let's start with the top. When it comes to the top, if you're around a traditional area If you're walking on a street, if you're in the bazaar, it's always good if it's kind of like something until here, around here. But for these type of areas, I kind of don't recommend if you're wearing something that shows too much of your shoulder, just to not grab a lot of attention. And it honestly really depends. I would say if you're going to maybe a fancy restaurant, maybe you're going to a mall, maybe anywhere like that. Like there are some other areas that it's completely fine. I've seen a lot of people, it doesn't matter really depending on what type of place you're going. It's fine to show your shoulder as long as it's not too much of the breast area as well. That would be fine. But when it comes to events, parties, weddings, birthdays, a lot of these type of things, it's completely fine. Especially you're allowed to wear something more, we call it like more open, when it comes to dresses and stuff like that as well, depending on the type of people that hold the event. And it might also change. Maybe if they're someone that is too religious, then they don't like these things, so you can also have to consider that. But that's for this part. When it comes to, let's say, wearing skirts or dresses, so it's always recommended if it is somehow on your knee. If it's kind of or a little bit above your knee, it's also fine. I would say it's also a lot better, depending on the area you go, to not grab more attention. It's good if it's under your knee. So when it comes to skirts and dresses, it's fine to wear as long as it's like not too short here. Something that is completely not acceptable is wearing short pants for girls, or even some guys don't really want to wear it here. For guys, shorts are kind of okay nowadays. Again, really depends on the area as well and where you're going. If you're going to somewhere that is more for like resorts and stuff like that, you're more open to wear kind of a bit more revealing, so it's okay. I personally really like this style where you can kind of show a little bit of your waist. I wouldn't wear that for, like, let's say on the street or somewhere that I know it's most likely people to look at me. I usually want to have a jacket with me, but once I'm going inside somewhere, I can wear that. So as I said, if you're going inside a mall, if you're going inside a cafe, a restaurant, some other places like indoors, right? It doesn't matter much, people wouldn't look, but a lot of people here, they would be like, oh no, like we don't want girls to wear those type of stuff. So it really depends, but this is the type of dress code that I explained that is more acceptable to people around here. As I said, I will only wear it when I know it's people wouldn't like mind so much. Here personally, I would not wear short pants, especially for outside, or not at all, because we do not like, you do not want to grab too much attention and or people getting angry or anything like that about it, because they're just not gonna like it. So that is basically everything I would say for this video, and explaining what is important to know when you're traveling to Kurdistan. Plus, it's not gonna be the only video for traveling and giving you travel tips when you're in Kurdistan. I have a lot more ideas about other things, like when you're traveling here, what you should experience, what you should try, where you should go, what to eat, the traditional Kurdish foods we have, and a lot more things, just in general, what you should be doing and experiencing when you're coming to Kurdistan. Or I might as well go out and show you some places and recommend some areas or anywhere that I like people that come to Kurdistan to see. So that was everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I will see you very soon in another video. So until then, take care and bye bye. Khatan lagal.